All right, we are here. All right. Roundtable. Designer Roundtable.
HeroScape shirt. Do you see Dylan's shirt?
I think we're finally here.
That is wait. That is a HeroScape shirt.
I love it.
Cause I've seen shirts that are like that, but that were just like hexes and colors, not actual. Yo, let's get that right now. Are they revealing that? Is that a reveal? Is that custom? What's happening here?
Actually, we'll introduce him shortly.
Stop the table!
I want it so bad.
I need it for my wedding.
We'll try to take some questions from the chat if we have time, so feel free to send them in, and I will do my best to include them. So let's get started. We'll start with introductions. Alex, would you mind kicking us off by telling everyone a bit about yourself and your experience with other games you've worked on?
Sure,
Did you listen to the podcast with Alex?
I have not yet.
Definitely check it out. It's so insightful and it's a really great listen.
Cool.
And I was fortunate enough to work on both editions of X-Wing, Star Wars Armada, and then design Star Wars Legion. I followed that up with a little brief stint at WizKids, working on a variety of games over there, and now I am here on Valhalla, clearly, reporting live from Revna's secret cavern and working on HeroScape.
Well, it's awesome to have you here. I mean,
Oh, and the
X-Wing
wound markers are his
Star Wars
buttons.
in general are personal
Yo, really? Yo.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled to have you part of our.
Is that not just the best way to show that you're the HeroScaper? Like, is that not?
I would pay so much. I love t-shirts. I have a fine collection of Scape t-shirts.
Oh.
Some of you might know me, some of you might not. If you do know me and not from HeroScape, you probably know me from my work with Atomic Mass Games, where I worked on Marvel Crisis Protocol and was in on the ground floor of Star Wars Shatterpoint. Keeping it brief, like Alex.
I mean, I already knew those things about you, but it's awesome to hear it again. Also, it's weird that we never crossed paths during our time at Asmodee and Atomic Mass Games. Maybe they're just afraid to have us work together. I don't know. But I'm glad we get to work together now. It wasn't.
Exactly.
No. Yeah,
You knew
wasn't
it would be
HeroScape
trouble.
time yet. Probably.
Anyway, you got your
Dylan,
shirt.
your turn.
And the
Tell us
shirt,
a bit about
taxes
your
are size
journey and your
accurate,
work
so,
with Renegade.
They do look size accurate.
Dylan, I have been
I'm not even going to
playing
care about the rest of the stream.
No, I'm just gonna be like, where you get that?
Almost the very beginning. I saw orcs fighting robots, fighting secret agents, and was like, done, sold, buying all of it. And was part of the customs community for HeroScape for a bit. Am so stoked to be working on it now.
It's really cool seeing so many people involved in the community, like working, like getting their dream. You know, like, Jeremy and even like me. It's
Look at his mug! This guy! Did you just hit a big dice mug?
You've been such a great
I love it.
team.
Dylan, you're my hero.
Who is this guy?
Talk to me, Dylan.
We'll start with Alex.
Because he said he worked on some HeroScape customs, so he's got to have a HeroScaper name.
In HeroScape, from concept to final playtesting.
Yeah, that's a great question because there is a lot that goes into
Show
this
stealer.
from the
Love it.
development side and also, as you know, from the production side. But from the development side of things, we start with an idea. You know, we start with a concept. And the beautiful thing about
Alex
HeroScape
really
is
understands,
that,
like,
the world
the
is your oyster when it
potential of
comes to this.
HeroScape, I
If you can
think.
dream
Listening to
it,
the
you can
podcast,
make
he really is
it.
like,
And
oh,
so,
you can put
in
anything here.
contrast
And that's
to
a really good
game that is an IP
mindset to
forward,
kind of
like
design this
Star
game
Wars
in, I think.
Absolutely.
Game or
For
something like that.
anyone not understanding what we're talking about, we're not talking about the TOV podcast. We are talking about the oh my god, now it's
Is it 10 points under OAOs?
no. This was Oreo is, oh my god, Orc Elf Army 1, Mike. That's not 10 points under, that's Taylor. This is, oh my god, what can I think? Casters of Valhalla. Casters.
That's it, yeah.
All I had to remember was Valhalla, and then go through the list of words. So, Casters of Valhalla is a podcast by some of the best competitive HeroScapers out there, and they had Alex Davey on the show, and they were talking about how to make characters or what his process was. Was that the type of topic?
Yeah.
So I had not.
just a
internal
breakthrough
playtesting.
with the game designer.
That
So
allows
it
for
was
a
Gotcha,
just
okay.
really
way to sort of
informative.
kick the design
Cool. Yeah, because I had not listened to it yet. It is on my list. Hopefully when I go for my drive this weekend, I'm always driving on the weekends. I'll go listen to it. So
HeroScape community, the designers, two of the designers on Age of Annihilation, in fact, Don Zimmerman and Adam Tarr, have a chance to look at these designs and work on them as well. After that, the designs go to Craig Van Ness, who old school HeroScape heads will know is one of the
That's
very
fascinating.
first designers of the
So we get some
original
Van
game
Ness
system.
input.
He weighs into it, and then it goes to an external game testing stage where we have members of the community, basically a curated collection of enthusiastic people from all walks of HeroScape, from your sort of casual dining room table players all the way up to your top tier competitive players. And then, they analyze our designs, and it's an iterative process. So basically on a weekly or a bi-weekly cadence, we are taking that feedback, taking that experience, making changes, making tweaks, and ideally, moving towards a more perfect unit at the end of the day. So with the acolytes, we had some
What
ideas
acolytes?
for
I think he's talking about the
how
VC
the
ones.
resurrection mechanic would work and how they would relate
Did he-
to
No?
Revenant heroes. And at first, that involved a lot of D20 rolling and trying to get your acolytes back. But by the end of the playtesting process,
No, because that's what they do. That's what the VC ones do.
To resurrecting a single acolyte anywhere.
No, they're talking about Revna. I think this.
Wait, what?
At the start of your round.
What?
And they are adjacent to a Revenant hero.
Wait,
They're actually going to be bringing acolytes to the game?
That's so cool.
The heroes that they worship, and that is reflected both in the lore and
Maybe we missed something, but
so that's just one aspect of it. Because of course, and I'll hand it back over to you, Lee.
I'm actually really
There's the whole
fascinated by
production,
this part. But
sculpting,
I guess acolytes in the future for
manufacturing,
Revna.
products too.
Yeah.
The whole, art
I'm
form
hoping they're
onto itself.
Icarian acolytes
Oh my
Arcane.
goodness,
What does that mean?
There's
for like
so
the Dragon
much.
Planet.
So, like,
Icarian.
Oh, okay.
Just game development in general, like you said, that's just one side of it. Like there's the production, there's marketing, there's keeping everything on schedule and within budget. Like that's all huge. And like,
What are
I'm
these
just
acolytes?
thinking-
Why are they just throwing this out there like it's nonchalant? Oh yeah, you guys know. You guys
Why
know.
is the chat saying, "What are these acolytes?"
Yeah, where's Chad at
And
this?
then, when we're figuring out colors for the pre-painted version and stuff like that, and that's just I'm gonna call it the
I'm gonna
pre-production.
They're like,
side.
oh yeah, so glad
That's
Craig Van
the
Ness
side
is
that
involved.
we're just
They're not talking about the
working
fact that there's
So,
revenue units that they're talking about.
I think next week, maybe the week after, I'll get to see some 3D prints of them. So very excited to see them. Well, I think that brings us to our next question. This will be for you, Rowan. How do you balance thematic elements with mechanics to create a functional yet immersive tabletop experience?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. And I like that you use the word balance in the question because it is sort of a give and a take, a back and a forth. There's no one thing that always steers a design or always takes priority over the other. At the end of the day, a fun figure is understandable, and that makes its mechanics shine, and its mechanics shine, which makes it understandable. So it sort of feeds into itself in that loop. So as Alex just mentioned, sometimes a figure has a place in the world, and that sort of narrows the design space for the mechanics. An acolyte,
Are you gonna-
Revna,
Picture didn't happen.
likely
Show
to
off this
play off of
acolyte.
Revna's themes. We wanted to show off who Revna is.
Stop talking about it like it's that we don't know what you're talking about.
Style abilities, or in the case of the acolytes, if they're worshiping the heroes, it sort of
Yeah,
gives you
I
this
wanna
impression
see it.
of
Go on.
inside of Revna's camps. Some information you can glean off of the card and how it works on the table, and these things sort of feed back.
probably a
and
lot of
forth.
scapers
You
aren't
don't
watching
have
this as compared to the
necessarily
reveals. I'm like, no, this is
100% of how
Did they all go home?
they were
Yeah.
writing
not spending all day
iterated
listening to
on
this,
the
I
design.
guess.
New pieces of information would pop up, and we would say, "Oh, that's how they fit into the."
I'm
story.
excited.
That's it.
Are they
That's how it works.
Kyrie
And that
acolytes?
that
Are they mixed
is how
races?
sort of a new
Yeah.
figure that
I would
develops
I would
or
assume
comes
that they're
into
one
being.
race,
Look for
but
something that
That's
needs
honestly
to be
something that
filled
has
in
been
either
missing.
yeah.
I'm-
gameplay, the world,
with
and I do
resurrecting
both.
abilities. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
And see how we can push those two.
But that's
things
not. But that's not.
together. There's something we want to expand upon. The
Yeah,
mechanics,
Sir
something we
HeroScape's
want to
in the
expand
chat
upon
with
the
Board
story.
Heroes. Sounds like
How
similar
does
to the
that narrow
Skeletons
the
and
design space
Annalita.
until
Yeah,
there's only one thing
that would
this
make
thing can
sense.
be? That's what we're gonna do. That's.
But I don't think it has to be like an undead character.
Sometimes we
Yeah,
wanna make
it actually makes sense that it's
manipulation
not
of
undead.
characters,
Yeah.
which we've seen several
Because
times
it's not
before.
to say it
few
is like a
villains that have been
religion, but
around
it's
by
like
now and a few
that
drinks
type
you
of
might have seen in
magic
the
where it's
past.
like kind of
Yeah.
like
So when
it's like I can take you back from the
new
dead
existing characters
from
At a cost.
Valhalla as a at a cost of something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we know who they are. We've seen them before.
So Revna's
and what
turned
we
into
wanna
a more
do
like
is
a cult
pick
leader, which is
somebody
really
who's
fascinating.
familiar
Because I still
Yeah.
don't know what she
push
is,
them
because all
forward.
her
Nah, I
character
was
bios
still
are all
still
over the
learning
place.
that one.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
wanna give you something that
Because she's got bugs, she's got machine creatures.
Yeah, she on one hand has like machine creatures of death. She has bugs that burst into people's chests. She has pirates. She has evil. Like she seems like okay. I have a lot of thoughts on Revna that I won't take up the whole time, but it seems like she seems to focus on the remnants of society,
Yeah,
kind of, and the leftovers.
And like you said, Lee, also her physical design, all of these things reinforce each other. So it's not just about the name of an ability. Vengeful.
She.
Done. No, of course not. We want to have the
Okay, we
mechanics
might
of
have
how
missed
she
something.
plays
Maybe
fall
there's a
into
hero that goes with
what makes
these.
you vengeful,
They're
what
talking
makes
about
something
kind of the
bad
design
happen to react.
process
Oh,
of
okay.
what goes into. You just can't
those
make a
sorts
creature
of
vengeful without
events
justifying it
play
for
out
some
Gotcha.
reason in
on
the text of
and
the
then,
card.
Of course, in
Oh
the
yeah.
narrative, we have
Unless
the cards
you're like
themselves,
your
but as many
vengeful
of you already
power
know,
is
we also
like,
have monthly scenarios, which
you
are going to
know,
expand on the
at the
story
start of the
lot
game,
larger.
pick a unit
of course,
to
come with their
attack,
own
and like
mechanics
you
and
only
their
have
own
you can only
story.
attack that one figure for the rest of the
So,
game.
bit with that for now. I think that answers the question.
For sure. Well, and like you said, and Alex sort of alluded this, like some of our ideas, or sometimes it's just like, it's not to say like, oh, it's easy, but you know, it's not as complicated to nail it from the start as like, say something that we are going to have
Oh yeah,
next year.
almost is.
No, 2026. It's not 2025 yet. So an exciting 2.0 that we're gonna have the beginning of 2026.
Oh, they're releasing a 2.0 for a
I'm
hero
super
next year.
excited for it. And for that particular hero, it's very easy to nail down the theme. It's very easy to like nail down the gameplay and stuff like that. And then other times, like with the Revenant Acolytes, they're like, well, we want them to do this, but how does it work in HeroScape? Is this working? And we continue, like,
I need to write
you'll
this
continue
down.
to evolve the design through the development process. And I guess that brings us to our next question. I will bring it over to Dylan. Dylan, can you talk about iteration in game design, and how often do our concepts change from their initial idea to their final version?
I like that question. Yeah. I think it's important to look at the two parts of that question separately. In that, what's the role of iteration in game design? Like, very high on the list. Iteration kind of is game design kind of is iteration in a lot of ways. You have an idea for a unit that you want to execute. You write up how you think it's going to be. You put it out. You play test it. You work on it. You then bring it back. You tweak maybe how an ability operates, what the target threshold is for something, what the various stats are. You put it back out. You try it again. You play 1, 2, 5, a dozen games with it. See how it's playing.
Yeah, but how do you do that when your timeline is like a month?
Yeah.
How much iteration can you do? And you're not only working on one unit, you're working on probably like 20.
Yeah, I hope they use that initial. That's probably why they spent so long releasing this, is to get kind of this game plan going.
Yeah,
but
and then the game development process is trying to.
Yeah, someday Cthulhu Daddy will be here.
That concept.
I'm just reading chat as
looking
well.
at another squad we've got coming out.
I'm hoping for you, man.
The Molten
Yeah, Cthulhu would be an absolute.
It's a missing aspect. I really do like that concept art.
They are crabs made of lava, so they should drop lava when they die. Anyone who's familiar with HeroScape knows that that is a dangerous proposition. Lava is a very powerful terrain type, but it's such a strong concept that through that long process of iteration.
Can we get a lava monster that shoots lava on the board?
Yeah, that's like a thing that I've made some customs that is pretty dangerous.
Yo,
That's the
Iwashia with lava.
Eburnia.
Eburnia.
The roll, and if you roll high enough, drop molten lava. What's the right threshold for that, where it feels both fun and rewarding for the player, but not oppressive for the other player? If it's high
This is a
enough
really
to
good
be
team.
not
This is a
oppressive,
better
is it then
Meet the
rare
Team
enough
than
to
the
be
first
not
one.
fun?
They seem a
Correct.
lot more confident in their
Yes.
roles, and
Confidence is the key one, yeah.
the first one they felt almost sleepy and unaware. Like this
Yeah.
one, they're like, "Yeah, this is our role. This is what we're doing. This is our process."
And this is how we kind of work through a unit.
Yeah, that's
I wish they were talking about. I mean, I guess they really can't talk about units previous because they didn't work on those units. So I guess teasing talking about a unit that can resurrect from Revna is their best example, and obviously they can't show it to us because it's not ready.
Well, it's. I would say it's definitely a challenge. And actually, speaking of challenges, Alex, what are
You
some
don't.
pitfalls in game design
Don't
that
avoid them.
frequently happen?
You just make more.
And how do you avoid
If
them?
you can predict the future and know what the problem's gonna be, there will never be any problems.
You just make Q10. Don't worry about it.
Unite away from. I think one of the most hated mechanics in all of gaming is skip a turn, lose your turn. Obviously, anything that's taking agency away from players or
Yeah, like how Yu-Gi-Oh's played today.
Game is a huge problem. That's probably the number one pitfall. But
HeroScape's actually a really interesting game because it has so many units, but it's the power creep almost works in reverse, where units got more balanced as time went on compared to like the best units are in the master set box, like the majority of them are.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to wave 9, you have like good units that are appropriately priced. No one's like, oh no, you're bringing the wizards to this, but they're still fun to play in the right settings. They're
Right.
just
Very long time. It is a beloved game. It's a beloved world, and that is a world that has been developed, iterated on, designed by so many different people at this point.
Alex really
And
recognizes that the
the
community
torch has been carried by the
is the soul
community.
of this game.
So
Yeah.
you've got all of these different kind of eras of HeroScape that all need to work together because, of course, we want everything that we
That's
do
such a good
to be
concept.
backwards compatible. We want things from the past to be forward compatible with new units. We want those synergies to coexist. So I think, one of the pitfalls that we're trying to avoid is to create new things that don't, that don't work with the old things, or that obsolete things, or that just don't feel right given what the game of HeroScape is, and should be. So that's probably
because people talk a lot
biggest thing
about
that I think it's important
things
to,
being broken, but the
when you're
only
kind
thing
of
worse
given
than something being
stewardship
broken
of
is something
a
being
game
moderately
with
better
history
than
like
something that
this.
exists.
It's important to honor
Because then that thing is
what
just,
you're trying
it's
to
not like
do
breaking the
and
game,
bring
it's
into the
just
future.
those
That
old
doesn't mean
units
you
will
can't
never
have
be
new
used in
ideas
any
and new
viable
innovations,
sense
but
again.
you have to
Yeah.
kind
You
of
know,
respect the
obsolescence
groundwork
is
and
definitely something you got to
foundations
watch
that
out
have
for in game
already
design,
been laid.
because imagine
For sure,
if they
like, we
made
don't
like
want to
Savaris
the game
and
that
costs
we
the
all
same,
love and enjoy.
but he has
So-
10 range instead of
and
9. Like
I
that's
guess
Savaris like
exactly.
character. You're
Right.
like, well, I'll
this
never
brings
pick
us to
Savaris
my
again.
next question,
Yeah.
and it's for Dylan.
But look at Sonlin. Sonlin to me is a really good example because, or even the Drakes. Actually, the Drakes is a good example of it actually happening, because I think the newest Drake is the one I think people should be playing in competitive. The others are okay.
But they don't, like, they all serve different roles and functions.
That is true. That is true. But
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's the original Drake is great for his cosplay, but he doesn't do much in a competitive setting.
No.
Obviously, I'm exaggerating.
But once again, talking about Sonlin, you could still take Sonlin now. He's then current Sonlin, and then new Sonlin is definitely a lot better. But that point cost is ridiculous. Like there's no way you're just adding that to any army. Like there's a reason you're taking that character over the other one.
I want to do a 2.0 versus like a 1.0 or matchup type of deal sometime. That would be really fun.
That would be fun, yeah.
Unfeasible, or things like that, where it's like, oh, something to think about that needs to go. That and just the timeline that things operate on. My calendar is like wrapping up.
That's so exciting.
2025
Like
designing
2026, we're still going to be
2026
talking
right
about
now,
this.
and that's a fast
Yeah.
pace. So it's a.
This is making me feel more confident about, and you were saying about the confidence of them talking about it, but confidence for me is to know that once Age of Annihilation is over, are the units that we're gonna get just
And then the other part
you know,
of
like,
being
and it's like the
Yeah.
games will just slowly die after that because it's like, well, it's not being made by the War Council. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, because those are the people that we trust. That's
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting period, I think, once we start getting some original designs. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be another riotous time
Sure.
in the community, but I'm excited. I'm confident in this team just with their backgrounds. Like, they all know
Yeah.
game design. Alex is really great. They all, it's not like their first time doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Renegade has invested a lot into this game. Like, this is like HeroScape is their whole Renegade con. You know, like this is their
Right.
flagship product is what they're thinking about here.
Incredibly exciting.
For sure. Well, and like for me, like what comes to mind, because I feel like this is what I am, like literally what comes to mind is the conspiracy board with all the strings. And that is just making a game in general. So like you have all your cards of your murder suspects, but they aren't your murder suspects. You know, it's all of us and how we're involved, and then not to be like, I'm in the middle and I'm all the string, but it's like
I wish
it's
Renegade would
literally like
release
like,
these
y'all are
character
working
backdrops
with Dan,
as
Scott, and
just PNGs
working
for
with
people to use while
Jordan,
streaming. I think that would be fun to have.
marketing team,
Yeah.
Andy
I
from,
kind of wish they
like,
had like a
distribution,
streamer asset pack.
occasionally checking in
You
on
know?
Ooh, it'd be
Nick,
nice.
who
More
handles
companies
our
would
web
do stuff
store.
like that.
There's just so much involved in it besides designing the game. So, and like what's awesome about Heroes.
Yeah, because other than the box, where are these art? Where can you get this art?
Accessible.
Yeah, you can
Especially,
find
like,
the
to
images
it's like, yes,
online,
we
but you have to
a
like.
basic game,
It's
which
not easy.
a
So
lot of
it'd
No,
be
because
great
they're just
to-
crops of this.
because,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm like, where are you gonna find like the original art? Like,
abilities and the synergies.
Oh
and
yeah,
all that stuff.
all the art
So,
has
when we have some
the
titles,
stuff
like the Battle for
on
Blood
it.
Spring,
You know, like the
Battle
character on it.
Box,
So you have
which,
to
you know, that's
crop that out
for us,
and
that's
fill it. It's a lot of
our
work. So
Yeah.
if they have those
thing
PNGs, I
that
would
we
love to
for
have them
newcomers.
personally,
Yeah.
just for some.
Like,
I
would like to ask.
I mean,
Rowan,
also just for the
what-
community to be able to make
what do
custom
you keep
cards.
in
It'd be
mind
nice
when
to
you're
have
designing
the
a
new
game
updated
that's
backgrounds.
welcoming for new
Yeah.
players, but yet you still keep.
well, I mean, Rowan's background is just the ones from the AOA campaign.
So
No, that's Rowan's
you
is
mentioned
Ukkar,
the
Dylan's
pin
is
board, and I like
Jandar,
that analogy
Lee's is
because
Olar,
there's a
and
lot
Alex
of
is
complexity
Revna, I believe.
to
Oh, okay.
a living
They're all the new character
army
backgrounds.
building
Oh,
war
okay.
game like
Because I'd say those sparks look
can be
way too familiar.
exceptionally overwhelming for somebody just thrown in. If your very first experience is, I've never played before, but before I even get the chance to play, I have to try to figure out what might be good so that I can build something that's in any way viable before I even start to actually play the game. That can be off-putting for a lot of people, or at the very least, not welcoming because they're not likely to succeed.
What would you say is
So
the
they're going to
worst
have
designed
an unpleasant
HeroScape unit?
time after having spent
In
a lot
Classic.
of time trying to do that skill. So
Worst
as
in
you
a
know,
way where
I
it's
work on
like
BattleBox
it's
a lot,
written
just taking
bad or like it plays
the
bad.
board of
Just
the
it's
complex game
openly broad.
and
Like, which is
not
a unit that either
removing
is so
any
bad
points,
it's
right?
just
We're not
badly
making a
designed,
different
or
game, we're
just
not making a
so like
smaller
doesn't
game
consider
or,
the game as a
something.
whole.
You know, we're not doing that thing where they teach
Like,
math by lying to you
Q10, I
about
wouldn't
how
say is
math
the
works,
worst
and being like,
designed.
okay,
Like,
we're gonna
he's just
change it back
strong.
now. No, it's the same.
They have to
game,
say Roman
but we're
archers. They're
trying
probably the worst
to
designed unit in the game, or
cover
Payloth.
up some of the
Uh,
things and let you discover them organically.
Yeah, no,
as
that's a
you
really good
experience
question.
it.
I don't
Here's
know.
just
I
a
don't
few
I don't look
pieces.
at those units
Practice
that
with
way.
You understand?
Yeah.
Great. We're going to move
I mean,
on to another thing. Another thing.
for
So
me,
sort of
what comes to mind are the
removing some of the cognitive load of a new player so they can get
oh my
straight
god,
into
the
experiencing
Morrow
like you mentioned, there's
the characters that
there's
write
basic
on
mode,
those
but
like
basic
shark
mode is
dogs.
Oh, the Grox.
The
Yeah.
Grox, yeah.
a different audience.
Yeah.
And I only because
it's
they're a double space unit. I think they're I think their defense is quite low.
They can
Yeah.
hit really hard. It's just they just need a good hero to make them worthwhile. Is they're like a bonding squad with nothing that fits with their play style is really the issue.
Yeah, because Negaxa doesn't really work. And
Horse guy doesn't. Biberxa doesn't work.
Biberxa doesn't really work either. Yeah. So if anything, that's yeah.
I think they
learned
were
about your
heroes.
order
They were a
markers,
squad
you've
that would
learned
get
about
good once they
strategy,
released
you've
like a
played with 2
mounted
different
warlord
modes, you've played just
Yeah.
that
wargaming,
actually
we can
has
introduce
durable
scenarios,
defense.
we can teach you
Yeah.
things like, oops, watch your objectives. It's not just about stabbing the other guy. Sometimes you need to get cliffs. And you can, in those ways, sort of titrate up on the complexity of the
I
game
like how the
until,
master
well,
set
okay,
has
so
varieties of play.
now you have
Like,
access to the
you know, the
game.
pirates
Now
are
you know
so
how
complex to play,
all of the
Mhm.
different
but they're
aspects of
really,
stuff.
really
So,
just
you know,
if you get
when
them
you're
going,
designing something
they
from the ground up,
hit
you
so
want to
hard.
give,
Okay.
And then you have like the bears,
that
which are
sort of
just kind of plug
titration
and play.
across
You
the
know,
Yeah.
you
figures
could
that are
definitely
in
see
the
those
box
two
as
different
well.
design
So there are some
philosophies.
figures that are very simple. They're not intimidating. You look at them, you know what they do. And then you can grade it up to some that are more representative of some of the stranger figures in HeroScape. And in that way, you have a sense of what HeroScape as a game is. You're not locked over here in the small portion going, oh, that's all there is. Every character has one little power and no interactions with each other. That would be a lie. That's not true. Lots of characters have lots of complicated things going on, but you can introduce that gently to people. So,
Well, for sure. I like to think the battle box was like what the master set was for a lot of us several years ago. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, it's the magical thing that, you know, a younger audience is going to gravitate toward and hopefully grow up with, but like, it's, you know, to me, like the battle box is something that's like, well, the master set is awesome, but it can be really intimidating to a new player. So if you shrink it down, and you don't want to like have it be a starter set.
That's
because
true.
If you call it a
It's a
starter
good
set,
marketing
it makes
tip.
it sound inferior.
I
It
think
makes
Battle
it sound
Box is
like
a
we
really
took
good.
It's
a
a
lot
really
of
good
things
name,
out,
yeah.
Or, you
And
know,
I
It's
was
like you play a couple battles with it, you're good to go.
Yeah,
And
and I was
stuff like
almost
that.
kind of hoping
No,
they
like,
would just
you're gonna learn
make another
how to
battle
play
box
HeroScape as
instead
you
of doing
progress through the
army
scenario.
only
That's what
army
HeroScape
expansions.
looks
They
like.
just
You
have
Yeah.
here's a
buy
battle
the
box.
whatever,
Here's a little bit
fully
more units.
with
Here's
a
like
launch
do
pad
it with the
and
bugs.
Cheetah and
Yeah.
It's like cool.
You know, do it with
start
take
Rock Chalk and
Solid in
Max,
there.
and
Like
then
I don't
later on
know. I mean,
in
there's a lot of big
1.5,
units, so
and
the cost. I
Yeah.
want to
talk
keep the
about it all
cost
today, but
round about the same as the
overall,
battle
we have
box.
the
So
Heroes
I think
of
they'll probably do
Arboreus
another
army
one,
expansion, which will
2026.
continue
yeah,
to
probably
be
with the
more
newer units.
They'll probably
and
release. I think I
beasts.
saw
So,
somewhere that
like,
they were planning on releasing
you
a
just
new
get to
master
like
set and a new battle box kind of
really
in a
pick
year
what
or
you
two.
like and
Yeah,
combine
that's
it.
fair.
That's one of the things I really like about
I
HeroScape.
hope we get an undead
and actually
themed
like
master set.
speaking
I've been
of
wanting to do some
gameplay,
Halloween
what
stuff, you know,
comes to
but
Sure.
there's
mind
just like
is the question
there's
of
undead units in
compatibility.
the game, but they're all kind of
So
like doing their own
I'm
thing. There's not like a
gonna
cohesive
ask Dylan
army you
this.
can build with
So
undead.
Dylan,
No.
how do you approach
We
integrating
need some undead
old
that
and
actually
new
just
HeroScape
help
units?
They
like
they
heroes.
they they,
Do
they
you
got it.
consider
They got to
classic
talk to
HeroScape one
Wizards
tiny
of the
little army
Coast.
cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I consider classic HeroScape practically well making breakfast.
Mario!
It's
It's our
I've been
cereal.
Mario's.
I
Maros.
want Maros now. Goodness.
Beat the hive.
You've almost succeeded in fully distracting me. Thank you. No, wait. But no, I love classic HeroScape. It's what got me into wargaming. And I want to respect it and pay tribute to it and build on it as we go forward. We're in an interesting position where HeroScape has been out of print for a significant amount of time. So while I love all those classic interactions, a lot of our current
No,
players,
most of them
most
do.
our
That's
current
the
players
exact opposite.
don't have access to it.
This is the exact opposite what you just said.
We want to make the contemporary.
Your current player base that's buying this already has everything.
I think there's some new people drop slowly filtering in. I think it's just it's not like it hasn't hit like mainstream yet. It's still kind of underground.
No,
but
See, when I hear current players, I'm thinking the ones that have already been playing it. Current, I guess from his point of view, maybe current players being the last couple of months, not the past 10 years.
Legion being led by a weird alien mind controller. Like, that's the kind of thing that HeroScape really shines with. And so to have this super extensive synergy web built into the game, being able to like pluck parts of that out to.
I love that
integrate into
philosophy.
New units
Because there's some
going forward,
things
so
that are
everything new
locked
we create
behind
refreshes
D&D
something
world
Yeah.
that really
is-
drive me
is so
crazy.
fun.
Yeah.
Like,
So, I mean,
like
you've
I'd
got
love a
the
imagine
2D
instead of a
creatures
mind
coming
flayer,
out
we just had a
in
Morrow
spring,
that did
which
the same
are
thing.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Horrid
or
fusions,
green scales, we have something
who
that
are
bonds with
still guys
dragons
into
that isn't
hordes,
so
of
D&D
course, obviously,
coded.
'cause they're
Mhm.
I'd be
cool,
happy with that. I'd actually be
but
happy
also
with them
ninjas,
re-releasing all the
because
D&D
those
units
have
with just
some,
rescan as
stuff going
HeroScape
on
stuff.
in
Yeah.
RogueScape and Chivalry
And that
Modern.
way they can kind of bridge
So
that gap.
it's this
Just
idea
we
of
just
trying to-
ignore it.
to build
Don't talk
on
about
what's
it,
come before
and we
in
still get
fun,
because
new,
the
interesting ways
D&D
and
units are
really
so good.
refresh
They have so
the
many.
units and-
80% of them are
there's
so
much more I
good.
wanna tell you
Yeah.
about that, but that's,
I mean, they could
that's
easily
for
just.
next
I mean,
game.
I say easily.
More on
Anyone
that.
could
You
just
said-
draw up a new
Right.
look for the green
Yeah,
scales
yeah,
that are
yeah.
coming
Yeah.
from
We'll see.
another universe that happen to just work with the people from the dragon world.
So, like,
Yeah, you just have the
so,
Icarians
like, it's funny
from
that
the
you bring
planet,
up, like,
and they
Yeah.
secret
just
and stuff,
and
because
they
to me,
just
that's
bond with the
another
dragons that they serve, which
Yeah.
makes sense lore wise.
conspiracy board thing, but instead of it being all these conspiracies or it's your murder board or whatever, it's like all these like cool abilities or like options that you have when building your armies. So with that, like there's so many like fun abilities that you can like really focus on. Like in Age of Annihilation, one of my favorites, I mentioned this earlier, is beast bonding.
just need more
like,
beast.
I really like that. That's
Small beasts.
more
Yeah,
prevalent
because
in
right now we
Age of
have
Annihilation,
Anshu
'cause I
and
love-
Kira,
I love
Kita.
sitting on
Mhm.
Anshu
We
on my
need
opponent,
like 8
you
more
know,
beasts to
whittling them
choose
down.
from.
Like, I just love
Yeah.
it. And then Kita's just
Because
going
in the
around,
VC
like,
list is
forking people
Otar,
and things like that, like,
and then I don't.
so,
That's it. That's
Yeah,
this
that's
is
really
my
it,
big
yeah.
question, is for
So just more
Alex.
small beasts, please.
How does
Yeah.
player feedback influence the design process, and how do you incorporate it?
Yeah, well,
I needed
we
like a
talked little
rabid
bit
squirrel,
about
a
the
rabid flying
process
squirrel.
sort of at the
Yeah,
beginning
just
of
take
this,
Tuck Harrigan's
roundtable, but-
Yeah.
long lost brother.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
And he's
for myself,
undead.
I-
So there's a huge story about that one.
the synergy web.
F Harrigan.
Uh,
I'll let you figure out what the F stands for.
classic document of all of those lines
Frank.
going everywhere. And I had two reactions to it. The first reaction was, holy crap. But the second reaction was, this is actually awesome because there's a depth to this game.
Yeah,
That I
it's
was
this
unaware
game's
of, 'cause
almost
unlike,
kind of looked down
Rowan
on for
and
being like
Dylan,
baby's
I
first
don't
game,
have
but
a
it's
Sure.
so
classic
It's so in
in-depth
probably
if you
played
really like
two,
take the
maybe
time
three
to care
times
about it.
over the
Like
years,
it doesn't have
just
to be.
randomly
I always say
when
it's
it
like the
was
Smash Bros
around.
of
So
board
this was all
games.
brand
Mhm.
new
Anyone
and
can
I had
show
to
up
learn very
and anyone can
quickly.
play, but only
Um,
like a select few can really
But,
be a
you know,
master of
it
it.
helps
Yeah.
having, you know, wonderful people
And
to work
and that
with.
was
Dylan's
that
got
was
kind of a Rolodex
I learned that
of
the hard way when I went to
RogueScape
ScapeCon in
and
2022.
Rowan's got
Like, honestly.
all these cool
I keep on
scenarios
learning it
under
every
her
tournament
belt,
I go to.
and it's just
Mhm.
a lot of great
I just
experience.
also
So
have bad
very
rules, but
quickly,
I'm like,
just
wow,
see
I
it.
shouldn't be losing this
And,
much.
that's the kind of thing that you need to lean on.
Like I just looked at my list the other day. I went on the HeroScaper, HeroScape.org, and I found my league. There's league lists. And my right now I've won 9 games and lost 20.
Part of the iterative design process.
So I mean I played a lot of
trying to
games,
understand
but yeah, I
the
gotta start pulling my own weight. I gotta
whole
start.
players.
But there's just
The
so many
myriad
different
of
combinations,
styles,
Yeah.
and there's only
myriad
so
of
many because I want to play what I want to play.
things that you can
Yeah,
do
that's the
with
tough
this.
part,
Some
is
people
like-
are trying to be the
I don't
Also,
want to.
I'm
I don't want to
better
play what the
at
meta
drafting.
is.
I'm
of the
better at
competitive
drafting
scene
armies than
and win
pre-selecting an
tournaments
army.
and,
Like
like,
it's,
create
I'm
the
just so
most
used to that. I haven't
synergistic,
figured out
powerful, versatile
because I'm
decks.
really good at
Other
responding
people
to
are
someone. Like,
trying
oh, you're bringing this, I'll bring
to make
this.
the
But
weirdest
I'm not good at
possible
just like
combination
this
of
is
things
maybe what
somewhat
everyone will
live,
bring, and this will
right?
be the thing that fight against
then
that
there's
really
people who
well.
are just
Yeah,
passive
I like looking at
players, kids,
formats
Yeah.
and
play
thinking,
once in a while.
okay,
It's, you know,
what
it's not a lifestyle,
could be the
it's
best
a
army
fun diversion
that I can
when it
make
comes up.
tomorrow
And
that
we're lucky enough to have
would
all
work
of
best for
those
this
different
format.
players
And I just
in the
try to
competition.
play that army as
And it's really
best as I
interesting
can
because
Yeah.
and see how well I do.
what you do is gonna be,
I essentially play it like I with like Warhammer.
jam of
Like I play,
everything.
I get my faction,
If we're doing
and I play it to the best of my ability, regardless if it's good or not.
There'll be something cool and goofy and fun. There'll be something that opens up really, crucial new competitive strategies, and they'll just
Yeah,
be
it's like,
cool
when's
WoW
Valkyrie
stuff
coming?
that
I'm like,
is
I'm
sorry, but Valkyrie is canonically dead.
And Revna is essentially that.
Yeah,
And I think they're trying to do that with
Revna-
whatever Acolyte unit they're trying to introduce.
Do you like Revna more than Valkyrie, or like if you had to choose to keep one, which one would you keep?
I like Revna. And look, I said, honestly, you have to look at it this way. If they ever got the okay to use Valkyrie, do you think we would still get the score dier and the Incenner? What is the what is the Hellforge called? The Eisenex.
Yeah.
Do you think we would still get those units in Valkyrie?
I think they would be a Valkyrie unit. I think Revna's a lot different than Valkyrie. I think they can both coincide. Like Valkyrie is just like this mindless, just frenzy, and Revna is definitely like the fringe survivors that are hell bent on. Like they have different motivations. I think there's some crossover. Like Olar and Aquila have some crossover, like of themes and units that like, oh, they can kind of go to both, but
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I like VC Valkyrie better than I like
easily
Valkyrie.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They have some really cool stuff for him, but official Valkyrie has like 4 units that are okay.
First edition. One of the pilot cards in that edition was so game warping that we had to think about him every single time we did anything. Big Starkletter. He was so he broke the rules of the game so profoundly that he actually became a huge challenge as a developer to work around. And so one of the things that the community is so great at is pointing out those pitfalls and keeping us aware of it.
If you ever want to find a problem with anything you're doing, just present it to a group of HeroScapers. They will
really brutal with
they will give you all the things wrong with your submission.
Put it in a report, send it to us. We'll go. We'll think about it. We'll put it on the table ourselves.
And for majority of them, it's not like they say, "Oh, that's just a bad unit." They'll tell you like
great detail.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Why it's because and like talking to Dadscaper is such a lesson in itself, because he won't give you an answer. He'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because he'll know exactly what question to ask, so you can figure out the answer yourself.
He's like, if you were to play against us, would you have fun?
Right. Like that would be such a good question to ask. Or even be like, well, if this character does this and you wanted to do that, does that really reflect the character you want?
Yeah.
Like the power is cool, but like, does it do what you really want it to do?
Dadscaper is really good at balancing theme and mechanics. I think is a juggling, because I've seen power like C3G, like the heroes, like the superhero stuff, is really strong in theme. They don't even care necessarily about balance, because they can just price it however they want.
Yeah,
but it's really high in theme. But classic and normal HeroScape, you really have to be like, okay, I have this unit, and how do I like the Raylan on the Manticore? I think is really mechanically strong, but it's not thematically strong.
No.
Like,
it's like why is she on a Manticore? I don't know.
Why is she on him? What's the tiger do? Like it feels like it's lacking that disconnect.
Where Sonlin riding his own dragon is thematically right, because he had a dragon on his older unit. It grew up, now he rides it, and now both powers reflect the fact that he's a bigger dragon. Like,
option for you is to give each figure multiple ways it can be deployed. So even if there is an optimal way, if you've played a lot of HeroScape, there's some enjoyment in finding, like someone mentioned earlier, sure, there's an optimal way to deploy a figure, but is there a
That's my, I'd say, biggest strength and weakness as an escape player is I really like to be wacky, like Rowan's talking about here. I like just to be like, yeah, this is how you're supposed to play it, but is there a way to make it surprise people? Maybe not win, but have fun playing it.
Over and over again.
Because the one thing that, from my experience, is the cowboy army. I love the cowboy army. I love the way they play. I think it's so cool. But adding in Ranjit Singh into that army is, to me, so much better.
Yeah.
Because here's an army that already functions really well, and sure, everyone that's ever talked to me is like, oh, well, just add Raylan, give the defense, because the defense is weak. I'm like, sure, but I am playing them on an offensive. If I can play the order markers properly and get them all to move and attack, I'm getting extra attack plus
Of course
height.
they're good with
I'm
timing.
I'm pushing you with ranged units.
Yeah.
Avoid.
So
Other fuzzy
that's one of the things where
critters.
it's like, oh, something that my friend group and I came up with
something
that actually
silly
works
you
and
could
it is
do
different. Not
that
everyone
would
thought
say
that would
if
be
it were to
as good as
a
it
model
was.
on the board. Maybe that's not a very great strategy. Maybe it doesn't work out for you very often, but it's fun to try, right? It's fun to try, and those ways bring you coming back to the game and playing with the same pieces in new ways. We also have, as a game system, more than even just the people on this call are working on this game. We have our entire organized play department. Hello, organized play department. We love you. And they are constantly working on things that give you new options to play the game with new people in new places, with new stakes, new scenarios and formats and story blurbs to read. And all of these refresh the game and give you new options to play. So all of that together means that even without just buying new pieces, which again will of course bring in new synergies and as Dylan mentioned, I think pulling back to old characters and all of that is great. But even with just the box you already have, there should be lots of options to go off of, lots of ways to play.
For sure. Well, and like one of the things that I love about HeroScape. So one of my favorite figures is probably like C tier or whatever, but I love playing with Rocktrot because with Rocktrot, you just sort of have Rocktrot hanging out, witnessing a bunch of death, controlling your little animal buddies and things like that. But then, if everything falls into place.
I wish Rocktrot was better, actually. I hope he gets a little undead beastie buddy to run around with him.
Yeah, I think, eventually when they add more small beasts, more familiars for them to use, you could mix and match and find the right combination that works for your playstyle.
Because right now the beasts don't help him out that much. Like they just start extra attack, but really he needs defense. He needs to survive enough to get to place. But he's so cool.
He's so cool.
I crafted a fun army with him and the bees.
Okay.
Because just use their stinger, they die. You put that wound marker on them.
You're right. That's a good point. That's such a good point.
Probably wouldn't be very good, susceptible to range and order marker management's a nightmare, but it would be fun. I think
yeah.
It would be...
The problem though is that the bees are really fast and they can get into your start zone and do all the damage and die, but he's all the way back.
Yeah,
so
that's the tough part.
It is. My theory crafting one, which I was hoping to make a video on, but I was like, scrap that, work on something else, is... So you take Rakshot, you take Halushia, you take Kita, but what you do is you take spiders and you take the wyverns. You use the wyverns to carry units to him, kill him in front of him, he'll get the boost, and then be able to walk up and then explode.
That's interesting. Yeah, that would be a fun one to try.
Sketches, we're looking at... Sometimes I wake up in the morning.
I think wyverns are underrated. I don't think they're used enough.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. Ever since I painted my spiders, I've been trying to work them in a lot of different armies, other than using them for their true purpose, for Krohan. But yeah, I thought I was like, use spiders, use the wyverns. Thematically, it's foresty. You got your forest creature as Rakshot. You got your owl and you got your dog, your wolf character. Then you have all these spider creatures that are going to be in the forest, and then you have wyverns flying around. I'm like, I thought it was like that. That's such a cool thematic army, and I hopefully want to bring it to a tournament soon, depending on the format, and just see how well it does.
The maxim of too many cooks, I think, does not apply to this team because we're all working together and we're all, contributing in different ways. And within the dev team, I happen to have a lot of tabletop wargaming experience, but I had zero HeroScape experience coming into this. So I've been leaning on, Dylan and Rowan in that respect to kind of bring me up to speed. Rowan produces some of the most, out there, interesting, wild designs that I've ever seen. And then Dylan will come in and say,
it's good. I honestly like having both philosophies on a team.
Yeah.
Because I don't want everything to be balanced and equalized. That sounds so boring.
It is. One of the video games I play, Rainbow Six Siege, has been struggling with that issue.
Yeah.
Where they're like, come out with a unit, it was super powerful, and it's a lot of fun to play, and then over like the next year, they just like nerf it into like just plain existence, and it's like, well, it functionally works the way it does, but you know, it's not as strong, and so it's like the meta is like bland.
Well, and like I will say, I don't always like view every single version of the army cards, like when you're routing them throughout the team, and then with or contractors and playtesters and things like that. But it's crazy. It's like, well, I have so many other things too. But like, sometimes you're like, oh, cool, they nailed it. This is like only like the second or third version, and then then it's like, I'm not gonna say how many versions, but I was like, okay, are we gonna nail this down anytime soon? We're getting pretty close to the wire.
Yeah, working with NGC gave me a lot of just experience.
Sure.
On like, it's just we would debate for an hour on what to name a card power, just because just like you want that theme to hit, you want the powers to hit, and sometimes we have a draft and like we're like, yeah, sell it, release it, and other times we're like,
tabletop game.
It was just a bunch of back and forth.
Yeah.
I would say that
I think a good balance when it comes to wording or naming a power is just keeping it simple. What, like, just say it out loud. Full barrage special attack. Boom, nailed it. Like it's simple, it's fun to say, and it feels like the full barrage. It could have been expansive barrage. It's like could have been
really hard hitting massive attack boost special attack.
Yeah, like you could do it super wordy too, and it's like just simple. Mind shackle. Oh.
Take over people's cards' power.
Think of it as Pokemon. Think of it as if I was Ash Ketchum coming out and go, all right, Nigoxa, Mind Shackle. Like,
that's pretty much, yeah.
That's how you should be like thinking on how to name stuff.
You don't like, and you know why.
Ash Ketchum can yell it out in Pokemon.
Yeah.
Special.
and
full barrage, Q11, full barrage.
Don't try to make the smartest.
Because that's how I feel like I say things when I use them. It's like, all right, my first order marker is Sonlin. What's the wing power? I can't think of it.
Healing Wing.
Healing Wing now. Rolls the dice. Damn, no. Roll the 13. No.
Playing some other games. That's fine. Did you have fun? Are you having fun when you play it? If you're proud of your work, you had fun, then you're going to keep going, and that's what's important. Make another game after that. Make another game. Go back to the play.
My thing is, like, when you play test,
go watch some movies.
What are you playing against? How many different versions of armies are you playing against? There's so many different combos.
Yeah, you have to. I find in playtesting, you really want to focus on your character's niche. What is its role in its army? And then you should play it against an army that it should lose against, an army it should win against, and an army that it's neutral against. I always find that is a good way to start off, and then you make adjustments from there.
Yeah, that means you need a lot of experience with the game, because I mean, I could tell you what's a good army and what's a bad army, but a medium army?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just a neutral army. That's a tough one to figure out. That's the hardest one. What's an equal matchup?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for Rock. I mean, maybe for Rev. I don't know.
Plague.
I'd be down for some Plague Doctors and Scape. Actually, that's something we're missing.
Yeah.
Oh, bears with their little masks.
We probably can't put 12 Valkyrie dice in that product for the original price, but the concept
no.
of Bear
Oh my gosh, no.
is very cool.
That is one of my favorite Alex moments. Is
that's what I was saying. I said that in my Fogbearer video. If you're doing Akrala and someone has like what's the Deathwalker 8000, and they just keep on killing your Warriors of Ashra, you're rolling 12 dice each time.
It feels really it's the perfect number for using both hands.
Right.
Roll your dice.
Right.
It's 12.
That's what
It's
I've
not
been
10,
saying
it's
for
not
so
That is a
long.
really good
It's
point.
way too many.
I
All
feel
right,
vindicated.
here, Timmy.
Like, yeah.
Roll 12
So-
dice.
12
Scientific
dice.
It's like,
Every time you take a
Yeah,
turn with this
science.
unit.
Yeah, lots
And that's
of research.
before you move
And
your other.
experience.
It's bulky. Just give them a
Let's
d20
see.
and give
I'm
variables.
gonna throw one more question. Will we see any updated squads? So like there's 2.0. So like we've got Len 2.0,
4.0 Raylan.
I
I
s-
wonder how that
and
they're gonna change it up.
4.0.
I still think it's too soon to give us Evil Raylan and then take it away. Because I know that's exactly what they're gonna do.
Will there be
They
any
can't make
2.0
Evil Raylan
squads
again.
or
I think it's a big
any
misdirect. But also, like
abilities or
that's the only
synergies that are
like you
missing
need
from
Raylan
squads
to
that
be a
we'll see
good
return?
person. I
Yeah.
think she's going to be a Thorman. Like
I'm gonna
I'm hoping
add-
that's my secret conspiracy hat theory is
No,
that she's going to
no.
be a Thorman.
No.
Like she's going to be tired of Utgar, tired of Jandar. She's just going to
Really,
just
though,
kind of
I
just
think
be in an
the
open
answer
general
is,
relationship.
in the grand scheme of HeroScape,
Interesting.
probably.
That'd be crazy.
This
2
is a
HP
game
is
that's
Eddie
going
and
to go
Guard.
on,
Someone
a
mentioned in
long
chat.
time.
That
We're
would be
gonna have
really
lots
awesome to
of
have.
stuff
Actually,
Oh my
come back.
god.
Now, there were some questions hidden in that question. That was, are there going to be
Oh,
2.0s of squads, and are abilities from old
There-
squads going to come back?
There was a lot, and then I added a little bit in there, so then that way it'd be more than just no.
Keep me on my toes, Lee. But to the second part of the question, yes, there definitely are going to be returns of mechanics from ClassicScape, because as Dylan alluded to earlier, there are a lot of abilities that people buying ModernScape who don't want to shell out a exorbitant amount of money for old figures don't have access to. So we want to bring those into the game in a way that is not, we're not just going to reprint exactly the card exactly the way it was, is what I'm trying to say. Is we're going to bring those abilities back in fresh and new ways that let you.
Yeah.
there's
Just
a
like some of
VC
those
shows that
classic
you can really
mechanics,
recycle
but
powers
on
and
Mhm.
mix them up with different powers and get some
somebody
really fun
cool that's also
results.
doing something
Yeah.
you haven't exactly seen before. So get ready. It's coming.
Don't look for the return of old squads. Look for something that fills a similar niche. And
What did you just say?
Not reprinting green
He's like, he was literally just mentioning green scales, and he winked. He just winked again about maybe bringing in a unit that's like green scales, but that isn't green scales.
So at the Gen Con, there was a hint of a green, like there's a hint of like wormling like dragons that are HeroScape coded instead
okay.
of D&D coded.
Cool, cool, cool.
So that's probably, there's been a lot in the podcast. There's been a lot of talk for filling in this dragon bonding niche at the.
Okay, I gotta go listen to that.
Because something's working with dragons. It might be wormlings. It might be some kind of squad, but
Cool,
they're,
cool, yeah.
they got something in the works.
Gotcha.
Because they mentioned it like 10 times.
They just keep bringing it up.
I'm like, just give it to us.
You know, sort of a reprint of an old thing. That being said, you know, nothing is completely off the table. Like I could see a world in which certain, you know,
Oh,
historical
that'll
units
piss
or
people
something
off.
like
A fourth
that,
mass that aren't
or refresh or
that aren't human.
There's also a world in which we just go to that, you know, to that planet and we accelerate.
Yeah.
the timeline.
Future Gruts.
And so we get to see, well, what are Gruts doing?
I really hope
right?
they
Like,
do
what-
touch on the
what
futures
has-
of
how
other
has their
planets. You know,
technology
future
evolved,
elves,
et cetera,
future
et cetera.
Gruts.
Yo,
all that
I
kind of
mean,
stuff.
that war elephant.
The battle
Yeah.
of all
Like, we still need that.
all
Was it an
dimensions,
elephant or was it a rhino?
all
It was
possible
a
planets.
mammoth.
A mammoth.
You know, you
Yeah,
don't have to
yeah,
restrict yourself to
That was kind of a
just
classic
primitive
style.
Gruts.
You know,
can
imagine
get
that you have
Gruts
like
from
a
all
like
eras.
an
You can
Ankylosaurus,
get
all like in
ninjas from
future
the
armor with a
future.
big
You can
laser
basically
cannon on his
whatever
back.
you could
Mhm.
possibly
There's some
imagine
fun things you can do.
You know, exist in this game, which is very cool.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see one riding a dinosaur. Anyway, next question. Back to the thing I
Hint,
put in
hint, hint,
DMs.
hint.
Thing that we've already seen before, but a
I
different
think
dinosaur.
Grut is such an underdeveloped planet in HeroScape.
It really isn't. Yeah, we need a Spinosaurus.
So HeroScape
We
is
just all
A
we know is that
Brontosaurus?
there's Gruts and they ride dinosaurs. That's all we know.
That's all we
don't
know.
We don't know who they're fighting against, why they're militarized, what's their state of organization. We know that
Yeah.
Grimnak was like a traitor
version's
for a
great.
bit, so maybe
Oh,
all the other
interesting.
Gruts are nice.
Aesthetic
Mm.
alone,
But
visual aesthetic.
more-
Anything
More
else.
Gruts, more stuff from Grut.
So
You know, I want some
HeroScape,
like dinosaur folk, like
is one of the
humanoids
few games
from
that
Grut.
was like,
Mm.
Kind of like
there's more
tribal,
games, this is
like in the
awesome.
swamps. Sounds really
so,
fun.
Like
Sure.
that samurai swords, which later became Yakuza, both of which are out of print, but they're awesome. Arkham Horror, mainly second edition. Third edition fills the need, but second edition was where it was at for me with Arkham Horror. But like that just spark and joy that I got led me to pursue a career in this industry. So what I would like to do is ask y'all, like, which tabletop games or designers have had the biggest impact on you and your work, and why? And I will start with Dylan.
Okay, I will try and narrow this list down for y'all, or else we'll be here until the end of the next stream. HeroScape is what launched me into war games back in the day. It kickstarted me right forward, and I've been loving it ever since. I play a lot of Gloomhaven and Frosthaven weekly with a group that's been going since it launched. So if I'm not thinking in 3-dimensional hexes, I'm probably thinking in 2-dimensional hexes. I play a lot of RPGs, a lot of more narrative-focused RPGs. I'm a theater of the mind type DM, more so than a crunch DM. Shout out to James D'Amato of the One Shot Podcast and the Ultimate RPG Guides for great DM advice. And then, my board game design professor from way back in college who told me that I should be doing this professionally. Good on you.
They offer those classes?
What?
I would have taken board game design.
What?
I have the most hours in, probably aside from HeroScape.
I'll go back to college.
Yeah, I'll take some. I didn't know that was a class. I think everyone just kind of stumbled into it after like failing their finance, like their accounting jobs.
Space Fighter Fantasy on tabletop. I've played thousands and thousands of hours of that. So I guess shout out to Frank and Max and Alex, who I now get to work with, which was a little mini freak out when I found that out about 6 months ago. Yeah, so that's the very short list of the very long list of games that have influenced my whole thing.
I love games so much. I just don't have enough people to play any of them with.
Because, like, I worked on X-Wing. Alex has obviously worked on X-Wing. You played a ton of X-Wing, and then like Rowan maybe touched it a little bit from their time with Atomic Mass.
We're credited on some of the same X-Wing products, Rowan and I.
Yeah, so it's funny that like X-Wing has touched us all, and then like we all get to like work on HeroScape together. So it's like awesome that we all get to come and.
You ever play X-Wing?
No. We all find so precious. So,
I've watched a little bit of it because when I first was talking to the community and I talked to Tommy for my EscapeCon 2 video. He had talked about it a lot, and he was suggesting some YouTubers to follow. So I was like, oh, I'll check it out. You know, obviously, it didn't stick with me. I mean, I love Star Wars, but
I just didn't have room in my heart for another miniature-based collectible.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool. It just, you know, it doesn't. Spaceships don't do it for me as much as, let's say, like the story of Star Wars or the characters, the lightsabers, and all that kind of thing.
I've been wanting to get into Legion. I really like the models, or Shatterpoint, whatever. But I don't know nothing about the gameplay. But I love Star Wars. I might start painting some of the models.
I gotten into it like 2 years earlier and kept those cards, but obviously that didn't happen. So
no Black Lotus.
Beyond that,
you know those robots that walk with General Grievous?
Yeah.
In Revenge of the Sith. We need those. We need a squad that's like that in HeroScape. Like they work essentially to me. I would imagine they work like the Death Knights do.
Yeah.
But
it'd be great if they just can choose any hero. Like they're just designated guards, and they just whenever you move that hero, they move next to them.
Yeah.
And then whenever you target that hero, you have to target the guards first. Like that'd be a fun.
Oh, power. Because who has that? You mentioned him earlier. No. He's an OG unit. Because he has a power like that where it's a single Tandros. Yes, you have to fight him before you fight any of the other guys you're adjacent to.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that'd be such a cool power to have with those guards. Oh.
It would just be like, and they could choose any small or medium hero. That way you could like have those single attacking heroes and still have them like pretty much bond with anything.
Exactly.
Even Raylan gets guards. If
right.
They wanted to.
Yeah, and it'd be such a fun filler unit. They could be unique. They could be common, but I think either choosing to be unique or common. Which
I think
would
just
work
a
for
unique thing with
I
like
wanna
high
say,
defense,
way
low
through
attack would be
Yeah.
really fun.
Fairly
Mhm.
early on, but not
Like 5
right
defense, 2 attack,
beginning.
and
Yeah.
they
Learned so
just
much,
move forward. So you have to
under
like
games and learning
maybe
that
slow your
system.
move down to keep up your
And
guards
then,
nearby.
Sure.
I still play
But
a
it would
ton
be a
of these
fun little
games.
thing to
play
have.
a lot of,
Absolutely.
I got to try Marvel.
Honestly,
I'll have to hop-
we
I'll
could be
have to
game
hop on
designers
this.
now.
Yeah,
We figured it out.
We're gonna have our own round table.
Yeah.
that system.
I mean, essentially, this is our own round table. It's just that like they can't hear us.
Yeah. Also, there's not a live chat, and
There's no live chat now.
Genius little bit of design from the same.
It's
studio
delayed. It'll be a
style.
delayed
So
reaction
Yeah,
by
that's true.
24 hours.
I could go on. Oh, Radlands. Radlands does a wonderful, complete, CCG-like experience in a box. I'll stop because I could just continue, but that should give you an idea of what.
I know. I could turn my screen around and be like, "This is what influences me," but
well, I never set out to be in game design, right? So apparently, I was doing research my whole life just by being super into games because I kind of story for another time. But this was never like my vision for my career. I think super glad I'm here, but yeah, apparently I was working towards this inadvertently and without knowing it for quite a few years.
well, it's so funny you say that because I'm pretty sure Frank was a chemical engineer at some point.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, he worked.
yeah.
He worked for 3M, I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was a chemical engineering major at one point. So yeah,
Funny.
look what I am now. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Go from
But-
that to making board
Chemicals
games.
do. Now you just sit around and make
Now,
plastic
now I
tools all
take
day.
those chemicals and turn them into games, and then we get to play with them all the time. So
Perfect.
yeah, see, chemistry
Lee's
so involved.
single-handedly in charge of
Plastics
formulating the plastic
engineering
compound. For HeroScape.
There's different kinds of plastics. Yeah, absolutely.
Why is this a terrible paint color?
It actually probably does
choice?
come in handy as a
So
producer.
not just
Yeah.
for visual appeal, but also for coverage.
Just to understand
but
certain
also
terminology
chemistry still comes
when
into
when
play.
price
But,
pricing
Alan,
for
how
certain
about you?
plastics.
Game
Yeah, you
designer,
probably
cool.
like.
What's influenced you?
Oh boy. I mean, I almost wish I knew exactly what Dylan and Alex were going to say because now all I'm thinking about is, oh man, you listed some good games. We should play those. No. So, unlike
I do want to
perhaps
call out some
several
buddies
of
and just
you,
play games right now. I'm not.
I had
I'm in the same mindset.
I wish I was going to game night
fortune
tonight.
of my parents being hobby board gamers. So I've been playing hobby board games since I was able to comprehend how a game worked, which shockingly happens fairly early in your life if everyone around you is playing cool games and you want to play too. So I remember playing Past the Pigs all the time, which was like the first time I was like,
Pass
I
the
remember
Pigs.
thinking really hard about what's the smart thing to do.
I've never
and
heard of that
pushing my
one.
luck anyway, as Dylan and Alex know from playtesting with me. Let's see, there's a game I only remember as Colorful Camels, so we'll let the chat try to figure out what that game is.
You've never. It's pretty much like
Colorful
a dice
Camels.
game, but you use
The
pigs as the
only one I
dice.
can-
It's
the only
really
one I
fun.
can think of is
Interesting.
Camel Hut.
Are there numbers on like the pig?
That game's
No,
I've heard-
no, it's
Colorful
based on the
Camels.
position the pigs lay is how you get
Uh,
points. But if you have your pigs touch each other, then you have. It's like Farkle. It's Farkle with pigs. If you ever
And I
played
think
Farkle.
13
Oh, I don't know what
Maybe it's just
Farkle.
No,
Yeah,
it's
I.
13,
You know what?
13 Diamond Drive.
Next
I
time I
still
see
own it.
you, I'll bring
Yeah,
past the
see,
pigs.
yeah,
and
Okay.
You'll
Very
throw all your
formative,
HeroScape away. You'll never
those
play
are the
another
three I
game.
remember.
Oh, that's dangerous then.
Yeah.
And then
No,
flash
it's just it's
forward,
little. It's just a fun little
in
casual
college,
game when you're like at a coffee shop and bored with
I
someone.
actually did
Huh.
set out to be
Neat.
here and succeed.
I love that.
So take my advice,
Because
everyone, from
I have a
earlier,
game that we
gas
haven't
up.
played in a while called
Eat your
Kittens in a
Wheaties,
Blender.
Don't give up. You
Okay.
can't do it.
And it's like you have your
I
deck
also
of
wrote
kittens and you're
college
trying
design,
to
so my,
I think
design
be the
professor
first one to
probably
either not blend them or blend them. I don't remember.
more.
But you use the box. You use the box as like one's like like the regular deck that you throw them in, and like I think blend cards show up, and then if your kittens get blended,
So that was sort
I'm
of
not
the
exactly sure.
shift
I haven't, like I said, haven't played it in like 5 years. But it's a game on the shelf that I'm like, I think it's so much fun.
Directly, obviously influenced me I think the most because I get to talk to them and extract from their brain their own ideologies, steal the bits that I like, and make them my ideology now. So thank you to Alex and Dylan who are on this call. Thank you to my friends and colleagues from Atomic Mass Games with whom I worked. And thank you to my wife who makes RPGs and is one of the smartest and coolest RPG people I have ever met, seen, or heard of. Thanks, everybody. And you too, Lee. You're pretty cool.
Thank you. I like to think I'm pretty cool. Yeah,
And Lee.
since we're like on the topic of like, oh, like professors and teachers,
I like how the
high school
community has
history
just
teacher
made
is
Lee
probably
like
the one to blame.
the
who
representative,
got me
like Kermit the
into
Frog. I
tabletop
think that's
games
just a really
because he was the
funny.
one that introduced me to Samurai Swords.
And how Lee
So,
has
like, we
embraced
would
it. She's
have
always
these
posting Kermit the Frog gifs and memes.
moments
How
like,
did that come about? I don't
Sunday,
remember
we'd be like,
seeing
okay,
that.
let's play a game that's
Because
themed
Lee's
around
always
this. So
talking
that's why I
about
played
flailing
Samurai
her,
Swords,
waving
I
her
played
arms
Axis
to
and
get someone's
Allies,
attention.
and
So
then
have something
another
happen.
game
So
that
people
I
kept on
played
posting
Air
the
Force,
GIF
don't
of Kermit the
remember
Frog,
the name
you
of
know,
it, but obviously that one
waving his
didn't stick with
arms.
me.
And
Yo,
But
that's
anyway,
fire.
Don't like
I
it.
love
associated
that.
Learn from what you
that
don't
Lee is
like,
Kermit
too.
the Frog now. So
That
I
is
think what it
so
was
funny.
the people. I think what it was who I played against. I was just like, yeah, there's no way I'm defeating them, so I'm done. So I think that's yeah.
It happens.
But yeah, well, I think that about does it. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing your insights today. It's been like I felt like we had an awesome discussion. I hope everyone watching gained some fun and valuable insight into the HeroScape development process. And I think
Yeah,
we
and
all
it's a shame
agree
that this is
that
pre-recorded because no one got a chance.
is a dream
No one was
job
reading the
for
chat to ask
most of us
Dylan where he
people.
got his shirt.
I mean, it is
An
definitely
answer we did not get an
awesome
answer
after all.
to.
So that's gonna be a
So
wrap for today.
that's
Be sure
unfortunate.
to tune
I
in
guess we'll
later
have to
for
go
How to Eat
Berard
with RogueScaper
his
and the
personal
community spotlight
DMs to
places
find out.
with Vecna. So bye,
Because that
everyone.
has to be
they
custom made.
responded. Anias responded that he designed it himself.
What?
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy. Well then, I guess I gotta figure out how we did it. I need a wound button-up shirt with X's all over it. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
a whole
jealous
line
of
of
it.
clothing like that we desperately need. That's insane. Wow. Yeah, definitely. That was a really good podcast. We're Designer
Good listen,
Roundtable.
yeah.
That was a really good listen. Yes. Very good. I felt more confident about that and the future of the game.
Yeah, Alex is a really good ad. Dylan did. I think he was in the first to get to know you. He didn't really make a big impression. I think the first time, but this time he definitely. I think was the star of the show for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely some brownie points there for the shirt. And great commentary.
Yeah,
So,
good talking. I didn't listen to. I mean, I was talking over a lot of it, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty boilerplate stuff. I like their design process. I like.
yeah.
They care about it. You know, they're
They
not
do.
taking this as we're gonna cash in on the AOA and then go home. You know,
Right.
these are like these people's jobs. Like this is like as long as it seems like HeroScape is sustainable and profitable, they'll be interested in doing it.
Yeah, and I feel like it will. I feel like it has been. I don't think they would have offered that many options right now if that was the case. I think Wave 1 did extremely well. I assume Wave 2 is doing extremely well right now. And I can't imagine how this wouldn't, because there's just so many options. And it's nice to have those options because you're like, well, I don't really like the Eisenex. I really don't like the bugs. But I still can get Sonlin. Oh, I can still get Tuck Harrington and the Flyboys. So
Flyboys.
The Flyboys. So that's phenomenal. I mean, it's like I had no idea. I'm so glad this was. I guess it was teased at Gen Con, but like when they showed off all those models at Gen Con, I went, oh, I'm sure we'll get those in the future. I don't think we'll get those like the next con, and some. Like what?
It's nice being able to see good renders of them because for some reason everyone at Gen Con took potato level quality pictures.
Yeah,
of these
what's the
things.
deal with that?
POV took the best, and like they're like notably the best, but even then it's like I think it's behind a glass case. It's hard to get to, but I'm still like take like 1,000 pictures of these things.
Yeah. Is there bodyguards that are like 50 feet away, please? 50 feet. Oh yeah,
Zoom lenses only.
here's a new camera you need to use. We'll send you them by email.
Yeah.
But I guess we gotta be there to actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I'm crossing my fingers right down the line. I'll be at Gen Con one of these years. And you know what? They didn't really mention, at least during the first panel. I don't know if they didn't mention anything about them going to any smaller events throughout the year. So I don't know.
I think they're winding up for this end of year. You know, there's not a lot of big conventions or tournaments or like that going on in the last half of the year. It's mainly kind of summer geared. You know, you have Adapticon and Gen Con are kind of more summer things, late summer things. So I think next year, I think February Renegade Con is going to be just like, I think that's the one that's going to be the most surprising for us.
Sure.
Because I think we're entering into like territories where we don't know what to expect. Like,
right.
Like, because that's the one. There's no like build up reveal. There's no.
Unless someone just straight out spoils something. Because you know, Gen Con was huge. We got to see a lot of these models. We got to kind of see what we were expecting. And honestly, I was going into this. You know, I know we're talking at the round table, but we're still talking about the reveal panel that we just finished wrapping up. So if you haven't watched that, go check it out. But I was going in underwhelmed, and still came out overwhelmed, which is insane. So, but yeah, Josiah, thank you so much for sticking around. And watching the Game Designer Roundtable. Very, very informative, very interesting. Definitely going to have to rewatch again because all that really does is spark up new conversations to have with you. So,
yeah,
which is fantastic.
Design, I love game design.
So fascinating to me.
It's a fascinating kind of beast. I'm like dipping my toe in. I want to get more involved with. Mm-hmm. So it's great to see these people just kind of share the process, share that they care about the game, and that they're learning and growing. You can definitely see there's tangible growth. So overall, I'm impressed, and it was a great listen.
Absolutely. So thank you again, and for all of you at home, please go support RogueScaper. Go use his affiliate code. Go out and get Rising Tide for either of the waves, even though you can all pre-order now, but make sure that, as a reminder, there is a February release date and an April release date. I will put it on the screen of what those dates are. So go use the affiliate code for the February for Josiah or myself, and then go maybe support the other content creator with the other release date. So thank you again for sticking around for such a long video, and I'll see you guys next time.